This is a very big story, and it is something that we really need to talk about. We'd love to get your views on it as well. A rapper accused of glorifying murder in his lyrics has been recalled to prison for breaching his licence conditions, the probation service have confirmed.
Jack Fahri killed schoolboy Jimmy Mizzen and in 2008 was sentenced to 14 years in jail. Part of the rapper's parole agreement included being barred from entering the Greenwich Borough of London. But in music videos found by The Sun and watched by his victim's family, Fahri, who goes by the alias 10, that's his rapper name, was filmed in front of Canary Wharf inside that Greenwich area.
Yeah, of course. So let me read out some of those lyrics from his songs. But just a warning that the following lines may be disturbing to some viewers and listeners. OK, so these are the words. Sharpen up my blade. I've got to keep those necessary. Stay alert and keep it ready. And any corner could be deadly. Stuck it on a man and watched him melt like Ben and Jerry's.
Now, Jimmy's mother, Margaret Mizzen, told us yesterday she said that the rap lyrics are absolutely horrendous and that she wants answers from the BBC.
I think it's absolutely beyond disgraceful. I can't believe that the BBC would do this. Now, I know that at the moment they're saying, well, they didn't know who he was, etc. But there must be ways of looking at these things. You know, perhaps people show their passports with a name or something, but they're making excuses. There's no excuses. They played his music, and you're playing the music of someone who's committed murder.
The lyrics that we read out to you, they were not specifically played on the BBC, so that's not the song. But what Jimmy Mizzen's mother, the point she's making is that if you are putting artists on, say, 1Extra, which I think is the channel it was on, I don't understand why the BBC have decided to delve into all sorts of different 1Extra, BBC Dance, so on and so forth, but that's another conversation. But they should be aware of what they're promoting, and former Police and Crime Commissioner Festus Akinbusoye joins me now. I just tried that. Listen, Festus, we've spoken a few times. I am very concerned that this person who came out, breached his licence, is allowed even for this kind of music to be put on any platforms, and it is so graphic and disgusting. So he hasn't learnt anything in prison.
Clearly not. I mean, this is absolutely outrageous. Absolutely outrageous. And in my view, when someone has been sent to jail for murder, then comes out in 2023 with very strict conditions on their release from prison, this person not only breaches that order by going into the area where they were barred from, but films a music video in that area glorifying the murder they committed. In my view, this is evidence of someone who has not been rehabilitated, who does not give two figs about the criminal justice system, and even worse, does not care whatsoever at all about the impact on the victims of their heinous crime. And in my opinion, the only place for someone like that is to be back in jail straight away.
Professor, we were chatting just during the break there, and you said this is not actually a particularly unique case. This happens repeatedly.
Yeah. And as someone who likes, rap music, as many other people in this country do, one thing that I don't think is acceptable is when you have people who have been sent to jail for these kind of crimes, then being given a platform to actually talk about what they did in a glorifying way. And we've just had this horrible situation where a young girl's murder was just finalized yesterday in court. And there's the wider discussion about knife crime and serious violence among young people in London and also around the country, which the Met Commissioner was talking about in the interview with the Times yesterday. And this culture of glorifying violence in such a graphic way. And the other thing that I've got to just mention very quickly is that something that actually becomes a trigger in this situation is when you have people using social media and music, as it were, to incite other people and goad other people. That causes a lot of problem for the police, and I think this is actually quite an outrageous example of that.
Well, do you know what? Now you say that, I think to myself, they were really hot on picking up people who they felt incited violence in their social media when the riots happened in July. Yet in your music, you are allowed to say these things and do these things. There is an issue with this kind of music. It's not actually rap, it's drill, this music. Is there any way the government can do something about this kind of music?
So from my time in post as a police and crime commissioner and having worked with some of the surveillance and covert officers who do all kinds of really, really incredible work online, they have all kinds of techniques that they use to scan social media and rap videos for these kind of content. So I can't fault them for the effort that they make in that regard. But you are absolutely right. Some people will be quite rightly asking questions, well, where is the parity of intervention in this case? But I'm glad this one is being looked into, and this guy's got to go back to jail, because we can't have this kind of incitement of such a grotesque murder in London or anywhere in this country for that matter. It is totally unacceptable.
Can music not be seen as incitement as well?
Oh, absolutely.
Because it needs to be now. Because
absolutely.
these young people, a lot of the time they're walking around with kitchen knives. It's not even zombie knives or the horrible ones.
And what people don't realise are the vast majority of knives used to kill people are things that can actually just buy in Tesco and Asda, or just your kitchen knife, not the big fancy zombie knife that we often see displayed on social media.
Well, Festus, thank you very much for joining us live in the studio. Really appreciate it. Now, we've just got some replies to go through here. So, let's go.
Well, let's start with this one. The former Police and Crime Commissioner, Festus Akinbusoye, thank you very much for joining us. Right, a BBC spokesperson says that this individual does not feature on any BBC playlists. We have never played, as we pointed out to The Sun, the lyrics they have printed.
He had 2 other tracks played twice. One extra has no further plans to play his music. We were not aware of his background, and we in no way condone his actions. A probation service spokesman has also issued the following statement. Our thoughts are with Jimmy Mizen's family, who deserve better than to see their son's murderer shamelessly boasting about his violent crime. All offenders released on licence are subject to strict conditions, and as this case shows, we will recall them to prison if they break the rules.
Yeah, I mean, this is absolutely shocking, isn't it? And the BBC, I am really tired of seeing all these new BBC radio stations popping up, One Extra, Dance, this, that, and the other. Personally, I don't think the BBC need to, frankly, stick to the world service and also some of the dramas, because I don't know why. And if anything, the things that they're getting rid of, like community radio, that should stay.
Which isn't commercial, is it? So you need...
Well, it's not commercial. Keep that and get rid of Radio 2, 4, and all of them. Anyway, that's just my thoughts. Let's start with this first story. Jake Fahri, he's been recalled to prison following reports that he published rap music about a murder that he was convicted of. Now, this is what the probation service has said. This is, of course, the murder of Jimmy Mizen.
Yeah, what's wild about this story, and really stood out to me, is the fact that this guy, when he was 19, he was sentenced to a minimum, to life, but to a minimum term of 14 years. That's obviously the reason why this guy's already out on probation. But 14 years for murder seems like a very short sentence. I mean, I understand, obviously, they call it a life sentence. Clearly it isn't. But everything about this story is wild. The guy obviously isn't repentant if he's flaunting it in his music. Yeah,
I mean, what was he doing out on the street? Are they releasing him because he showed... he'd been rehabilitated in some way, in their view, or because it was just convenient and they needed to release him, they needed the space?
Well, it does raise some questions, doesn't it, about the probation service, because they are obviously going to be under pressure to release people, even if perhaps they have some doubts. But it doesn't sound as if this guy was... should have even been considered eligible for release, especially after such a short period of time. 14 years for murder is absolutely nothing. Yeah. Even if you're just talking about sentences in terms of a deterrent, many criminals would look at that 14 years and think, well, might as
well do that.
Yeah.
Andy Williams.
It does seem like a very, very short sentence for murdering a 16-year-old. I mean, that's really surprising. I don't know what the circumstances of the sentencing were, but yeah, it does seem lenient, to say the least. I suppose a positive way to look at this story is if we're going to have, people let out on parole with conditions attached to their release, it's good to see people going back to prison if they break them. And so that shows that in some way the system's working, which generally I don't think it has been for a very long time.
It's his own fault as well, because had he not published this video, then he would still be wherever he is, where he's not allowed to be, just we wouldn't know about it. So it's his own stupidity.
He's sort of trying to juice a silver lining out of this story. The hubris of this guy to put out this rap
such
video.
Ego, yeah, absolutely.
I know I'm, always sort of... on the downer side of this and not looking for the silver lining. But actually, I think that the bigger issue around this actually is that the hubris of this guy. He obviously thinks he can put this out and get away with it. He obviously doesn't think that he's going to get recalled back into prison for doing this. He obviously doesn't take his probation conditions seriously if he's doing this.
Yeah.
And this is all part of a broader context where criminals just feel that they feel so emboldened. They don't think the police are going to do anything. They don't think the justice system is actually going to execute justice on them properly or adequately. I mean, look at this guy's experience. He committed murder and he only spent 14 years in prison.
Well,
why wouldn't he have hubris?
We've got the BBC to thank for this, though, haven't we, really? Because had they not done what they did in terms of, allowing some of his music on and not that particular one that we read the lyrics of, that we may not have been talking about it. But on the other hand, they should do a bit more due diligence when they're putting people on their programmes.
Clown world stuff.
Clown world indeed.